Hey guys, Muck here. Just down at the range, got my bow in the vise here. And I've been wanting to do a video about basic bow tuning for a long time. Now, if you're an advanced shooter or you know what you're doing, this might not be the video for you. This is for the person at home that maybe has a child that has an event coming up, or for themselves that just aren't 100% sure what's going on. I have a basic bow tuning list that I can go over with you. So say you got provincials coming up and you want to make sure that your bow is shooting the best that it possibly can. One thing I have learned in the years that I've been helping kids in particular is you might have natural ability, but if your equipment isn't set up properly, it doesn't matter how good you are, you might not have the results that you're after. So always start with a bow that is nice and tuned for you, and then you can work on yourself, okay? So I got my bow in the rest. The very first thing on my list that I always say is, if you don't know, take your bow to a shop, your local bow, your pro shop or anything like that. They can get your bow up to spec, or whatever you need for your abilities, they can tune it for you. So if you don't know, take it to them, they can help you. But if you're like me, when I only got into competition archery 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I wanted to learn this process. I hated taking my bow to somebody else all the time when I wanted to tinker with it myself. So if you're like me and you want to tinker, this is a video for you. So I got my bow in the press, assuming that, now we're going to kind of skip over some, but number 2 is make sure your draw length is set to your draw length and your timing of your bow. So assuming you took your bow to the shop and they timed it and set your draw length and all that kinds of stuff, this is just a little bit more advanced tuning that'll help you just maybe get a little bit more, I don't know, 12s or 11s or whatever you're shooting. So assuming your draw length is set and your timing is set, because your draw length, it has to start with your draw length. You can't shoot a bow too long, too short. It just won't work, and it just causes lots of frustration. So what I do is, after all that's done, I bolt on a rest. And typically I use a drop away rest, but what I do to get my knock point and stuff like that is I bolt on a blade rest, because it stays up all the time. As you can see, I'm using a drop away and it's down until I pull it back and then it rises up. So it is a little bit difficult to set my knock height. But so what I do is I bolt on a blade rest. But if you don't have that, you just simply don't have to attach it to the limb, and it'll stay up so you can set your draw. So bolt on your rest. Guys, almost every manufacturer recommends your center shot be set to 13/16. Now, I don't care if you go in or out on that to tweak it, but they always recommend start with that. So set your center shot. And I got this little tool, it comes with CBE, but what I did is I took a digital caliber and I got 13/16 and I measured it on this, and as a quick reference. So I can literally put it on the edge of the riser, and I want to adjust my bow to 13/16, then I just have to bring my rest out and in as needed. And then I bolt my sight on. I really don't care about my sight at this point of the tuning process, because I just bolt it on so that I have something to look at when I'm drawing it back. Once I do that, and I'm in the bow vise here, and I have my rest on, I'm gonna tie on a loop, just lightly put on a loop with no knock sets, and then I'm gonna set my knock height. Now, if you're really advanced, you can mess with this loop up and down, but if you know what your bow shoots like, or where it's comfortable for you, you can simply just say, I like it in the middle of the burger hole, which is right here, or slightly above. Like I like to run mine just slightly above center of the burger hole. It just seems to hold well for me there. So you can set your knock height. Once you have it level and set, you can tie in your knock sets, okay? And now if you want to put on your drop away rest, you can, and then you can simply attach it to your limb, and then put a level on here and bring it up and level it to wherever you need to be, okay? Like I said, you can do that with this just being not tied on, so that your rest is all the way up. Tie your loop, your final loop, and your knock sets, and then what I do is I go and quickly run my arrows through paper. That'll tell me, like, I really don't care what my tear is, other than it's going to help me define my knock set. So if I'm up, if I'm a little bit too high, a little bit too low, then I can adjust that. That's all I really care about at that point. So I'm going to run my arrows through paper, and that'll kind of fine tune my loop height. And then I'm going to torque tune. I'm going to go as far as I can here in the indoor range. I go 30 yards. I'm going to put a piece of paper or something down the middle of a butt, and I'm going to torque left and right, and I'm going to shoot one in the middle and then torque left and right. And what's that going to do is going to help with the distance for my rest. And so as you can see in my particular bow, this likes to torque tune with my rest all the way back. I have tried it with my rest all the way forward. It didn't like that. It went all the way back, and it still actually didn't like that. I had to start messing with my sight at that point, where moving my distance. So whatever you do with your rest sort of affects your torque tune with your sight. And if the rest doesn't make it, so the whole idea of a torque tune is you want to shoot one arrow in the center, then you want to torque it left, torque it right, and eventually you want those arrows to kind of be in a line. You know that your bow is sort of the most forgiving with the torque tune at that point. If it's shooting way off, then you just have to keep moving this rest back and forward, and then your sight back and forward until you find that sweet spot. So it's a bit of a process. So I'll torque tune my bow. So right now my bow is torque tuned. As you can see, rest is all the way back. And I would say my scope is about average distance away from the center of the riser. Okay. Once I do that, now I'm going to walk back tune my bow. And here I can only do from 2 to 30 yards. So what I'm doing now is I'm more or less sighting in my bow. I'm going to go up to 2 yards. I'm going to shoot on my line. I'm going to adjust my sight until I'm hitting dead center of that line. And then I'm going to go back to 30. And that's going to help me micro adjust my rest even more left and right to help with that center shot. Because here's a problem that a lot of people don't even know they have. Up close, say within 20 yards, they're either, maybe they shoot slightly left and they have to keep clicking their sight. But then when they shoot, say 30, 40 yards, it's missing to the right. It's almost crisscrossing. That, when I hear that, it's a classic, your center shot's off on your bow. So this was walk back tune will help with that. So if you go up to 2 yards, shoot it, move your sight until you're dead center on that line, go back to 30, 40, whatever you feel comfortable. And then when you shoot those arrows on that line, your arrows will fall naturally to one side of the line. And the idea of the walk back tune is to get those hitting dead center on that arrow by micro adjusting your rest. Okay, once you're satisfied with that, then I'm going to go back to the paper tune. Now this is where I'm going to fine tune and decide if I need to shim these cams, or in this case, like with most bows these days, they have technology to adjust your paper tunes by your limbs, but sometimes you still have to shim them. So I'll go back to the paper, and that I should have an up and down by then with my knock height, but now I'm worried about left and right. So if I have a bad right tear, that might, especially if you can't adjust it with the limbs, then you might have to look at putting a shim kit in there, which is perfectly fine. People have been doing that forever. Okay, so take it to a bow if you don't know. Let them do it. Have a professional bow tuner do it for you if you don't know, but I advise you to start there. If your draw length set and your timing set, then bolt your sight, your rest on, set your center shot, center of your arrow at 13/16. This is a Darton Tri-Tech. And Dartons are famous for having the center shot right on the riser, which is nice. I like to still check it with a digital caliber. And bolt your sight on. Set your knock height, and then level your arrow with your burger hole, however you want it. And then finalize your loop and tie your knock sets in. Knock sets are what holds your arrow. Oh yeah, that's another thing I wanted to talk about real quick too. In both, a lot of times people don't understand that proper tuning is having knock set fit on your string. So if you're getting a new string on, any reputable string maker will ask you to provide them with a knock that you're going to use to shoot. If they don't, you're in trouble. You're going to have a knock that doesn't necessarily fit. So you want these to move around in there, like you can see how this one's moving around in there. Not so much that it's so sloppy it falls off, but you don't want it super tight, because when you draw back it's going to pinch and it's going to lift your arrow or anything like that. So as you can tell with mine, I've got some slop in there. That's perfect amount. Yet it takes a bit of a snap to come off. That's a good knock fit, but that's really important when it comes to tuning. Okay, run my arrows through paper quickly just to see if my knock height is good. Then I'm going to torque tune. I'm going to walk back tune, and then I'm going to run my arrows one last time through the paper to decide if I need to shim or move the limbs on there. Once I get a nice bullet hole going through that paper, then it's just a matter of shooting your bow and getting used to it. When you buy a new bow or you get a different bow, you have to give it some time. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm super frustrated. I've been working on this bow for a couple weeks and I can't get it to shoot. Give it some time. Every bow, almost like a human, has its own personality, and you just have to learn how to shoot it. I've had this bow for a couple of months now, and now it is amazing. When I first got it, I'm going to admit, I didn't overly like it, but now, because I learned it, I took the time. One thing that I didn't even know was when Paige was here and did her seminar, and I was listening in on her seminar, she always referred to making your bow be the most forgiving as you can. Meaning, when you make a mediocre shot or not the best shot that it feels, you're still getting positive results, and that means your bow is sort of helping you fix your little errors. If you're shooting your bow and you're forever like having to adjust it because it's not forgiving, you have to find that balance. Okay, so you'll know when your bow is forgiving is when you make a mediocre shot and you still get a really good results. Now, from talking with Paige, I would say that just because you got a center shot doesn't mean it's a forgiving bow. I hope that made clear and I didn't muddy the waters. Doesn't necessarily mean getting a perfect shot is a forgiving bow. It's when it's correcting a lot of your mistakes when you're shooting, either with your bow hand or your release hand. Anyways, that's how I do it. If you have a kid that's going to provincials, parents, I recommend get their bow checked, and not just by you, because like I said earlier, I've seen it all too often that kid has not natural ability, but their bow isn't tuned and it's way out of spec, and they're just trying to battle through it, and it's caused a lot of unwanted frustrations. So take it to somebody or use those tips. Reach out to me. I'd gladly help you. I'm not a pro. I'm not even the greatest shooter around by no means. I'm just a regular guy, but I love helping kids, and I especially love helping people that maybe don't know. That's why I do these videos. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll gladly help you with this. Okay? Hope that helps. Talk to you soon.